Welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is Wrench Every Day, and today we are continuing on the build for our Lexus drag race project, part of the eBay Motors rematch series against PFI Speed and the Freedom Civic. Now, if you don't know the history of both of these cars, they were used by Tavarish and Chris B is for Build during their Christmas special several years ago, where one car went fairly well and, well, the other performed terribly. So we reached out to eBay Motors and suggested the idea of taking these cars and making them actually do what they were supposed to: run 10 seconds in the quarter mile. And I've gone way overboard with this build. We have a insanely overbuilt LS, a giant turbo, a full 8.5 second certified roll cage, and enough fuel to just feed an oil tanker. It's a lot. We have a lot of really cool, exciting, expensive parts going into this build so we can run 10 seconds. And then later we're gonna run a whole lot faster, because 10 seconds, you can do that in a minivan practically now. Now, this car started off life as a Lexus SC300, which had a 2JZ inline 6 motor, a weak automatic transmission, and an independent rear suspension. And somewhere along its life, someone put in a small block Chevrolet engine, a TH350 transmission, which is not the best for drag racing, and a Ford 8.8-inch rear end. In our last episode, we showed you what essentially would make that rear end not able to allow us to ever race the car. They have a fatal flaw in the C-clip, and we're waiting on parts to finish that back-end fabrication, but we finished off getting our LS in the car. It looks glorious, I'm loving it, but we have a lot to do. We've got to build the hot side fuel system, wiring, mount the seat, get that rear end back, new shocks, finish stripping some weight out of it. There's a lot, but today's the fun day. We are going to decide where the turbo lives and get the hot side, the exhaust side, going to it fabricated up, which I'm excited about, because you can really make these absurd cars look even more absurd or kind of low-key depending on where you decide to put that turbocharger. And I've kind of been staring a whole lot, trying to figure it all out, but we'll get there eventually. But before we go too much farther, I've got to thank eBay Motors again for jumping on board with this build series. We're doing some really cool, exciting things thanks to them. And if you're somehow not familiar with eBay Motors, it is a fantastic tool to both buy and sell your parts. You'll find millions of parts listed on eBay Motors, and if you've got a Wego, you'll find parts for it there too. Now, check them out. Information in the link in the description box below, and I'm going to come over and grab you guys and show you what we're working with. Alrighty, as we're coming up here to the engine bay, this is our heart of our new build. This is a LQ4 iron block LS family engine. It's a 6-liter, forged pistons, forged rods, airflow research heads, Holley high rise with a shear fab, low clearance intake manifold, the double fuel injector setup so we can have both small and large for drivability and high power. It's insane. Way, way, way overkill for 10 seconds. And speaking of overkill for 10 seconds, hello there, Mr. Turbo. Yes, that thing is huge. So what we are going to try to do is, some of you were commenting, hey, why are your exhaust manifolds backwards? Well, that's because the turbo is going to live somewhere around here. We are doing a forward flipped exhaust with a front mounted turbo. So we will be working through today. We've got to connect both of these. We'll actually end up shortening them a little bit so we have a little bit more room in this area to get our exhaust pipe done and moved. We will have, obviously, our turbo to mount somewhere. And some of the other parts, we've got this really nice CNC flanged 3-inch registered dual inlet T6 flange turbo flange. Let's repeat flange as many times as we can. So this is what will channel the exhaust energy into that turbocharger. We've also got 2 new V-band clamps for each one, and the main reason we're doing that is when you have your V-band, you can have them that just basically sit flush and can move around, or similar to this setup, they register into each other, so you get a better seal and you don't get those small exhaust leaks. So we're going to change the entire V-band clamp when we're shortening this, when we bring that back closer to the collector. We also have what's called a double slip joint. This is going to allow us to have some swell and expansion in the pipe that goes over to the flange, because if you rigid mount both sides, exhaust is going to grow a little bit as it gets hot. Metal expands. And without this piece, you run the risk of cracking things. And what makes this unique compared to normal slip joints, you can kind of see the one pipe that comes in there, and then you have this outer pipe that slides over the top of it and creates a really good exhaust seal. Now you'll sometimes still potentially get a really small wisp of exhaust through these when they're cold, but as soon as they heat up and expand and kind of lock together, these work amazing. One thing you want to avoid using are flex bellows generally on the turbocharger side, because as you start building boost and it works to spin that big old pipe, you run into exhaust back pressure, and certain bellows and pipes will actually swell and expand and can come apart, and once they come apart, they send fragments of metal into your really expensive turbocharger there, which is not a good thing to have happen. That is where we're at. I am going to go ahead, rather than start off with cutting these down, I'm going to actually, that thing's very heavy and we're trying to kind of mock up and figure out where we want it to live. So we're actually going to bring the cherry picker over and we're going to hang that up on the cherry picker and just try to visualize where we want it to live, because I'm hoping to have most of a hood on the car. And we want somewhat of a reasonable exhaust exit. I have ideas of where I'd like it to live, but it's a very big turbo and there's not a lot of room really for it to live. So we're just gonna kind of play with, move it around, see where we like it most, and start making pipe to actually let it fit and live there. All right, I've done a little bit of kind of playing around. We actually ended up pulling the whole bumper off. You know, it's one of those things, you try to put a turbo on and you take the whole front of your car off. And we were kind of playing around in a couple different spots, and I was gonna work to keep the factory radiator, but it just limits where we end up putting that big old turbo, and I'm kind of leaning around there. I actually want to bring it up a little bit more. I think my jack is leaking, which is, you know, what you want to do when you're suspending an incredibly heavy turbo. Trust your, you know, engine hoist not to just drop it. So by bringing this up a little bit, this will rotate point downwards. I can run this as a pretty much perfect straight shot into our throttle body. We'll have the hood that kind of works. We'll have an air inlet that snakes up and actually will probably be here on a closed hood. Exhaust will probably mirror the intake and come up around here. That's what I'm thinking all through here. But if you notice, we don't have exhaust manifolds. As we talked, we needed to change the V-band clamps on them and wanted to show you that. This is one that I've already kind of polished and cleaned up. I need to clean the metal debris on the inside. You know, they're not dimes, they're Jello, but it is a nice secure fit. And if we look on the inside, you'll see I've already kind of polished everything down and have it looking really good. And this is where I kind of want to give you just a real quick tip. When you're welding stainless or any exhaust pipe pre-turbo, you either need to have full access to the inside to be able to polish off any slag, or you need to set it up and properly back purge your welds. Now, when I talk about back purging, you're literally going to block off every hole, crevice that it can leak gas from, and you're going to pump in the same shielding gas that you're using, that you're welding with on your arc. So that way, one, there's a little bit of pressure, and it just protects the metal completely from every aspect. So because I had direct access and my fancy back purging plugs have vanished, I just went ahead and welded it and polished everything down. So when you finish a stainless TIG weld without full back purging, you end up with some crusties sometimes, and you can see on the inside that little crystal debris. So if you ignored that, you have a very high opportunity of that breaking off and going through your exhaust wheel. A part that is designed only to deal with gas. And when you throw solids at something meant to deal with gas, you tend to break it. So we're gonna get this other one polished up, ready to go. Then we're gonna fit them back into the car, because then it's Lego time of working on our exhaust pipe, getting that fit up, getting that turbo actually mounted. Then we'll move on to wastegate placement, and wow, there's a lot to do. So let's get back to welding, cutting, and, you know, having a whole lot of fun building an insanely fast car. All right, we are back on our Lexus. It's been a couple day pause. We shot that other project in between, and we are now hammering away on fabrication for the turbo kit. We kind of left you off with welding up the new flanges on our headers. They are back in, and we got our motor plate mounts just kind of roughed in, and look at that. As you could tell on the time lapse you've been watching, I've been playing with where this is going to land a lot. Kind of forward, back, up, down. And being the goal is to go fast, you kind of want your weight low. That helps a lot. All the Pro Mod cars, they'd be up here, but we're trying to potentially drag and drive as well. So you have to compromise. Initially, I really wanted to have that go straight into our throttle body. We're going to have kind of a little S discharge pipe, hot pipe. But that was what we had to do in order to have a not really dumb exhaust. We're kind of running that Honda ram horn style, and if you notice, we have our double slip coupler there. When we have this all off on the table, I can show you a little bit more about that coupler, but we got our loops down. We come up to our T6 flange. We're connected there. So this is all ready to come off and get final welded, which I'm kind of excited about. There's some weird bends, but that's how it all has to work. We've got enough room to get a slightly smaller radiator and shift it forward, and we have our weight in a pretty stinking good spot. I'm going to want to get some heat wrap or a little copper shield to sit here to help deflect some of the hot air that we are going to be sucking in. And then a little bit trickier will be down pipe, up pipe, discharge pipe here. We have enough room to be able to actually make a pretty good exit. Maybe here. Who knows? We'll figure out where that goes once we kind of get everything finished welded. So now we take this all apart, weld it up, then we will build in some supports to help hold up the weight of this turbo, because it's a little bit heavy. Okay, I lied. It's not a little bit. It is very heavy. So once we get all the pipes welded up, we will get our braces put together and stick it back in there. And oh yeah, we're going to do our wastegates too. We're running dual 60 millimeters. These are DNA off of eBay. They work pretty stinking well. They're copies, I believe, of the Greddies. These were Greddy clones, and these have been pretty robust and reliable, and we are using these kind of cheater Motion Raceworks cast pieces. You're able to just drop them and they fit dang near perfect. And when you're coming up with wastegate placement, you want it to be able to have exhaust flow to it easily. Otherwise, you can run into what's called boost creep, uncontrolled boost, because the air is going to pick the path of least resistance and trying to swoosh through the turbo. If you have this in a weird spot, some people will run like a pipe and have your wastegate here. Your air is going to have to jam up there, make a 90-degree turn, and come up, versus right there, it is a straight shot right to the wastegate. So we'll most likely end up running CO2 for our boost control, but I much prefer controllable boost than runaway boost, because then you blow up your engine. So all right, let's take it all apart again and get some welding done, and then we'll put it together and take it apart like 17 more times. But we're gonna have a pretty insane race car. Poor Freedom Civic. I don't think it has any hope at all. Brent, you build some awesome cars, but this thing, that's way more awesome. let me get you caught up with the welding that you saw and where we are at on our up pipes. I've cut holes in them. During the welding, you saw one of my tacks broke, so I had to fit it back on the car, get it re-tacked, welded back up, and we've made some good progress. Now, you may be asking, why do we suddenly have holes in our brand new pipe? Well, it's to fit, again, our wastegates nice and clean. So we've made some good progress. We've got everything kind of ready for the cleanup. I've got to get some more. I've run out of sanding belts, so I got to run and get some sand belts. Get this cleaned up. We'll clean up some of the inside of the welds that we can reach. Get everything polished and weld it up and on the car for real. And that will get us to the point where we can end this episode and start playing with the rear end because we got parts for it. So, but we're getting a hot side finished today, hopefully. Fingers crossed. That way. All right, we are done welding, we are done cleaning, we're done grinding, and we have a hot side going to the turbo. I'm beyond excited. There's still some fabrication things to figure out, but we're at the point where I've got to order some parts for the hot side so we can kind of pause. We've gotten the goal done. We have a turbo mounted. There's a couple little things I need to do, but it's there. The pipe is clean. Again, like we talked on the manifolds, whenever you're welding, grinding, even with the back pressure, clean the exhaust pipe incredibly well. What works really good on pipe that size is you can go through with like your toilet brush, something about that size. It's just flexible enough and it's going to get that pipe and get all the little bits of oil and debris left, because you do not want to send that through your turbocharger because it'll ruin it very quickly. So that's all done. It's mounted. So let's show you. Wait, you really can't see it. And that's the goal. I wanted to get weight down because we've already got so much, and look at her. Now, in original placing, if you remember, we were a little bit higher with this pointed straight in, but we're able to make a gradual bend, and I thought centered with the weight a little bit more mid was going to work really well, and it gives me better hope of getting an exhaust downpipe off of it. Now, this is very tight, but we'll be able to come up and either go, right out there, maybe up here. I don't know. But we are going to be able to get a hood that's mostly just going to be cut out for that and whatever we do with exhaust. Now, currently, I'm running dual gates. My friends told me I was crazy. I'm a big fan of having adequate ability to control boost. So one, the flow of exhaust, the wastegate priority, like you cannot get, it's straight right here, there. So it's got to make the bend to get to the turbo. So the wastegate priority is perfect on each side. I've got it pointed down now. I've got to order some smaller pipe. I thought about just building them and running it so it shoots straight to the ground so we kind of get a cool dual fire down at the bottom, but we could spin it and shoot it straight up. So we've got two small holes and fire shooting straight out of the hood on two-step. Let me know what you guys think. Should I just shoot it down below and kind of keep it a little bit more mellow on top, or fires straight out the hood. I could go either way, honestly. You know, fire below, fire above. It's going to be amazing either way. So, man, that's a lot of fabrication, a lot of welding, but this is huge, huge, huge progress. And we've now got enough parts that in the next episode, we're jumping back in the rear end. I've got the box with the shocks coming in tomorrow. We have our new gear set that I have something to update you guys on from the 308 gear set that we were going to do on that Ford 8-inch. So, huge progress here on our Lexus Project Lazarus, or, you know, the Freedom Slayer. I'm sorry, Brent. Like, look at that. Like, you're building an amazing Honda, but it's not going to be enough. Like, oh yeah, we're racing 10-second cars. Why are we both building something so absolutely extreme when all we had to do is go 10 seconds? Maybe it's because we're both absolutely crazy and we're just wanting to build really crazy race cars, so we're going to sandbag to 10 seconds and then we're both going to just cook it. Who knows? But either way, we're getting close to the final episodes. We're going to get this thing rolling again, wiring, plumbing, and coming to life very soon, which I'm incredibly excited about because we also have that to work with. And both of them are slated to be at Cleetus & Cars in November. So, guys, I'm excited. It's awesome when you're able to play the exhaust puzzle, make progress, get things where you want them to go, and you can kind of start seeing it all come together. So, I'm over the moon. But either way, end of the day, it's been a long day, a lot of welding and grinding, but we have something amazing to show for it. So I hope you guys are inspired to jump in and try a little bit of, you know, wrenching, welding, grinding on your own projects. Just do it. Don't be afraid. You're going to learn. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. It's not always the prettiest of welds, but it's going to do the thing. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. As always, I'm Jared, reminding you to always make questionable choices. And don't forget to scrub your pipe.